the 10 best new things for gamers at CES 2020. And is AMD's new stuff, which is of course very cool. First off, their 64-core Threadripper 3990X, which is a processor that is boasting better performance than the dual Xenon Platinum 8280, which by the way would be a $20,000 configuration at a cost of less than $4,000. They also announced the RX 5600 XT GPU, which is a very high-end card for people who are playing at 1080p. I realize that doesn't sound like a massively impressive resolution, but they're also talking about a $279 graphics card that brings in some serious performance. They also announced their new Ryzen CPUs for laptops, which include 8 Vega cores for graphics processing. Essentially, they're outperforming all of the Intel stuff pretty big, and are also capable of delivering 4.2 GHz at a boost, which is pretty cool. They also went to clarify that the Xbox Series X images that show the back of the console aren't real. Not exactly an announcement, but still important to mention. At number 9, Origin PC did something that a couple of years ago they did as a stunt build, but have announced it as an actual mass-produced, pretty cool idea. They're actually going to be selling a hybrid gaming device called the Big O, which gives us a very powerful PC, custom built of course, with either an Xbox One S or a PS4 Pro embedded in the machine itself. It's actually built for streaming and capturing, but also for just having a cool looking machine that can output basically any game to any of your screens. They originally built this big monster of a PC with everything in it, including a Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and even a Nintendo Switch dock, and they sent it to Unbox Therapy, and the video that they made putting this thing together and using it got so much attention and positive feedback, they figured there was a demand for the actual machine. So obviously they pared it back from what they did to make it somewhat affordable to a human, but what they've created here is pretty cool looking. At number 8, you can see the evidence that the Nintendo Switch was kind of the missing piece of the puzzle when it came to totally bringing back handheld gaming as a big thing. A lot of people had migrated to phones, and phone games are but a lot of these sort of universal controller devices that very much look like what the Nintendo Switch does have been appearing, and the RazorKishi is a universal controller that apparently works with any phone via USB-C connector, and it looks really comfortable, nice to use, and most importantly, pretty much makes your phone via game streaming into a console that will work with anything. It's something that makes Google Stadia actually look like a decent idea. But let's be clear, that doesn't bring us to a point where game streaming needs to be. However, like I said, the Nintendo Switch has kind of brought a missing piece of the puzzle to the table. If your phone can suddenly become a serious gaming device, and all it takes is like a $15 subscription, then if I'm honest, I think a lot of next generation gaming is going to be done this way. People like playing games on handheld devices, and it's finally getting to a point where the hardware matches that demand without restricting you to anything that is subpar. At number 7, Asus made a number of announcements. A big one is the Republic of Gamers Zephyrus G14 laptop. It is a thin, portable, very light gaming machine with a discrete GPU and, frankly, a nice discrete look to itself. A lot of gaming laptops really try to go out of their way to look like gaming laptops. I kind of appreciate the quieter design that we see here. But of course, Asus's Republic of Gamers does not abandon the desktop. They announced a new lineup of esports-ready gaming desktops, the Strix GA15 and the GT15. These things are taking advantage of the Ryzen 9 CPUs. They've got GeForce RTX 2080s in them. They're big, they're unapologetic, and if you were thinking about an Asus desktop or laptop, I can't imagine a better year to have waited for than 2020. At number 6, MSI made a similar announcement plate. They announced a couple of new gaming laptops, a fairly unassuming stealth laptop with colored lighting on the keys, but generally, again, a stealth gaming laptop, one kind of meant to look like any laptop. But then, of course, the same design cues are brought over to the GE66 Raider, which is similar except for it's got panoramic aurora lighting, which is, of course, a little bit gaudy and a little less stealth. As far as their desktop offerings go, however, gaudy is the only word you could possibly use to describe it. And I actually think it's kind of cool. They've made a desktop that it basically looks like some kind of sci-fi robot head. There's kind of an estimated cost of around $4 grand for this thing, but it's not just because it's shaped oddly. It is. But it also is filled with high-end components like an Intel Core i9, an NVIDIA RX 2080, and a very large amount of RAM. 128 gigabytes. It's also got a quote-unquote gaming dial. I don't know what that means. And maybe I don't really care. I'd like to see one of these things running. It's cool. At number 5, Intel created this really cool, tiny, modular gaming PC called the Nook 9. Now, the reason why this thing is so cool is it is a modular computer. It's very easy to upgrade. There is a disadvantage in that if Intel decides not to make any more of it, it ceases to be upgradable. But in truth, this is kind of how the computer of the future might be at some point. It's a tiny, tiny PC. Its case is only 5 liters in capacity, and it's very tightly packed, but all of the stuff can simply be removed without a lot of work. At number 4, Samsung created the wildest curved gaming monitor, and it's pretty cool. It's called the Samsung Odyssey G9, and I mean, it's kind of an obvious extension of where a lot of gaming monitors have been going for a while now, but here we have a 49-inch 1440p display that is capable of handling PC games at 240 Hz, which is a nice, brisk refresh rate that a lot of recent games probably aren't even going to catch up to for a while, but depending on exactly what you use a monitor for, this could be a boon. I mean, it's easily the size of 3 computer monitors, all as one screen, curved around, and it's awesome. It's pretty, it's a nice monitor, and frankly, if I could buy one, I would. And at number 3, speaking of monitors, the slightly less gimmicky Acer monitor brings us a 55-inch 0.5 millisecond 120 Hz OLED gaming monitor in the form of its Predator CG552K. I mean, it's not curved, it's not gonna wrap around your entire desk, but it's huge. It's got 4K, and it's actually a pretty piece of hardware. NVIDIA also announced its new G-Sync esports displays with 360 Hz refresh rates, which is completely insane. If you're interested, the Asus ROG Swift 360 Hz esports display we mentioned a moment earlier uses this tech, and we expect there's probably going to be more of them that do. At number 2, Alienware put out this mini PC that functions so much like a Switch. At the moment, it's called the Alienware Concept UFO. Although it is a prototype and we can't expect it on the mass market anytime particularly soon, I don't think it's too far off into the future, but it's really cool. A few points ago, I talked about how the Switch is in a lot of ways a missing puzzle piece for mobile gaming. I didn't just mean the product we were talking about at that point, I also meant this. This brings us a full-blown Windows 10 PC with a touchscreen and the form factor of a Nintendo Switch, with the Joy-Con equivalent looking significantly more comfortable to hold, just to be clear. The strength, of course, being, hey, this is a PC that is Nintendo Switch sized and does the same things as a Nintendo Switch. It is beefier than a Nintendo Switch, it's a bit bigger, it's got an 8-inch screen. It's heavier looking, at very least. I can't tell you if it's actually heavier, but I'm guessing the components are a little more significant. PC games tend to be more demanding, and it is apparently handling PC games pretty well according to first-hand accounts of the device. It's not perfect, the resolution is apparently not like 4K or anything as to be expected, but it's looking pretty sweet. And finally at number 1, although I have sincere doubts I will ever have the kind of money necessary to play or maybe find one of these, maybe at a trade show or something, I don't know. Razer announced an e-racing simulator concept and it is amazing. For anybody who likes playing simulator racing games, this is like the holy grail. It's a full e-racing simulator. It's got everything from 2 projectors to create this big 202-degree display. It's got a hydraulic platform, full manual controls. And honestly, if you had showed me something like this in the 1990s, I'd have been like, well, of course they'll have that. Except they've really never done it to this extent in what looks to be like it's going to eventually be a consumer product. I'm very excited to sit down in one of these at some point. A quick bonus, Sony always finds these ceremonious revealings of their logo some way to get attention, and we're doing it. But they unveiled their logo at CES 2020 for the PS5, the PlayStation 5, which is exactly the same. You knew it was going to be the same. You didn't think it was going to be different. It's just got a 5. I'm fine with that, though. Bring on the PS5.